Let's bring in University of California law professor Michele Goodwin for more on this. Michele, thanks for being here. Justices draft opinions all the time, and sometimes they do change their votes later. Chief Justice John Roberts famously did this in 2012 and narrowly saved the Affordable Care Act from being struck down. So how much stock do you think we should put in this draft?
First, thank you so much for having me on with you. And it is true that justices change votes after draft opinions are written. The drafts change. Sometimes the drafts become milder in their tone and language. Famously, a case, Buck v. Bell, which upheld compulsory sterilization of people who were poor in the United States. That opinion still was horrendous in its final opinion, but it changed over time. So there's some possibility that there would be movement, but this is an unprecedented draft. It's unprecedented that the draft would be leaked, but what it portends, the language that's used by Justice Alito, if this is Justice Alito's opinion here, it is all just really stunning, quite chilling.
And Michele, what would the immediate impact of this ruling be if this opinion does hold as written in this purported draft?
Well, the opinion would not do away with abortion rights in the United States generally, but it would essentially punt the issue back to states, where then states such as Texas, Mississippi, and others that have passed anti-abortion laws or very significant and severe restrictions, those would essentially be allowed to go into effect. At the same time, Congress could pass an act such as the Women's Health Protection Act, which has already been vetted before Congress, passed through the House, but still has not made it through the Senate. That codifies Roe v. Wade, and so Congress could take that action. It's worth noting that Roe v. Wade was a 7-2 opinion, not even close, and that 5 of those 7 justices were Republican appointed. So we see something that is very different in terms of the tenor of the Supreme Court with the justices who are appointed now versus those who were appointed and serving on the court at the time of Roe v. Wade.
So if that happens, and again, it's a big if at this point, but if that does happen, what options are available to women living in a state like the ones you mentioned if they do go ahead and implement full bans on abortion?
Well, there are a number of things that are really concerning because it's not just the bans on abortion that we're going to see coming from these states and that are already being more than hinted at, legislation being curated that would impose civil penalties and also criminal penalties against people who aid and abet a person with terminating a pregnancy. We already see that in Texas with civil penalties, but we'll also see criminal penalties. We saw just very recently in the state of Texas someone who was arrested and later the charges dropped for her self-medicated abortion. We'll see people receiving pills in the mail, something that is actually not illegal because during the height of the pandemic, people were going to clinics. They were forced to go to clinics to pick up pills, but people are receiving pills in the mail to be able to terminate their pregnancy. And unlike the United States and Europe, that's been a practice that's been going on for several decades already. And there are going to be people who leave those states who come to places like California, Illinois, Colorado to be able to terminate a pregnancy. But that also means having the resources to be able to do so. So this is going to mean that poor women are shut out. And I hope we get to talk about maternal mortality and morbidity because the end result is staring us right in the face, and that are glaring results of maternal mortality and morbidity in the United States when people don't have access to the reproductive health care that they need and want.
And then, Michele, do you think this could set a precedent for decisions on other issues like same-sex marriage, for example?
I'm glad that you asked that question, too, because this really does open up a door. We have to understand that Roe v. Wade, how it fit into the nation's jurisprudence regarding privacy, autonomy, matters of contraceptive health, et cetera. And yes, this certainly does open up the door. And in fact, we've already seen the Supreme Court hold this door ajar a bit in a prior case involving Justice Alito writing in the majority. It was a case called Hobby Lobby. And in that case, Justice Alito wrote an opinion, it was a split opinion, that essentially allowed corporations to identify themselves as religious, and those religious corporations then to be able to say that they would deny women who work for them to access certain contraceptions through their insurance programs. That too is absolutely unprecedented, but that was an opinion written by Justice Alito. And so we've already heard that there are members of state legislatures that are ready to go after contraception as well.
And Michele, sadly, I'm out of time, but I just quickly want to get your take on the leak itself. You said this is unprecedented. What do you make of that?
Well, this is a Supreme Court that's already been chastised for its failure to actually have stronger ethics rules that its justices follow after information coming to light involving Justice Thomas and his wife, Jenny. And so this, I imagine, is sending shock waves through the court for a variety of reasons, both in terms of Justice Thomas and what the information leaked with regard to his wife, Jenny Thomas, or that not even leaked is now public record. And then also in this case, whether it was a justice, a clerk, a secretary, someone involved in the court leaking this, it is just unprecedented.
All right, Michele Goodwin, great to have you. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.